It's time for ACC Central, presented by Just Means Less.
I drive into right. It's enough. It's back. And it's gone for the cycle. It's a walk-off grand slam. Florida State wins it.
Hosted by Monty Taylor.
In the air, center field. Moore is under it. And on to Omaha for the Cardinals.
Micah Butel.
Fly ball driven into left field. Smith, does he do it? He does! A walk-off homer by Ken Smith.
And Nick Dioli.
Gets it down. Here comes Mac. He is safe. And Boston College wins.
Fastball off the plate for 2 balls, 2 strikes. Monty just got landed on.
There are 2 pigeons roosting right above me, and my can of Pepsi
Smacked into right field and a
Welcome back to another episode of ACC Central. We are talking the Virginia Tech Hokies tonight. We have just one more deep dive preview after Virginia Tech. That's Wake Forest, and then we are in the home stretch to the season. I'm joined by Nick Dioli, Micah Butel, known Hokie fan. Micah Butel, if you watched yesterday's show, you know he hates UVA. But guys, how are we doing today? Well, Micah looks a little peeved.
When is he not?
I mean, most days.
We talked to Virginia yesterday, so he was pretty peeved.
All right. We are talking Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, over the last couple of years, it hasn't been the best, right? I think they've had a tournament caliber team in 2023. I thought they had a tournament caliber team in 2024. I thought they had a tournament caliber team in 2025. Didn't make the tournament any of those years. It's been a tough stretch. Major collapses in the second half. They fired their pitching coach. They bring in a new pitching coach. And dare I say, their strength of their staff is the pitching depth. It's unprecedented pitching depth, but we'll get into it. Last year, obviously, they were ranked. At one point, they finished 31-25, 12-18 in the conference. They had some series wins against Louisville. They swept Wake Forest on the road. They won a series at Notre Dame. They started ACC play 9-6 and were ranked number 25 before FSU kind of ended that streak, and they went 3-12 the rest of the way. They've got some changes, but talk to me about this Virginia Tech team and how you guys are feeling about it. I know Micah has them in his bracketology, has them in the NCAA tournament as of right now.
Yeah, I think this is a tournament team. We'll get into the pitching staff later, but it's one of the best ones in the ACC. And again, there's reasons I'm higher on some of their transfer pickups, and I think maybe some of the numbers might say, or just outside other individuals that have been doing previews of the ACC have necessarily said. But I think this is a lineup that isn't maybe top half ACC, but I think it could be potentially if all things work out. It's a sneaky good lineup. So I think Virginia Tech this year, especially with the investment they've kind of put into their baseball program as of late, again, this is not going to help me beat my allegations of being a Hokie fan, but I am genuinely hoping that they take another step forward this year and actually get back to the tournament, because it's a program that's invested in the university is invested into this baseball program, and I really do hope that it does start to pay dividends, since they were so close to Omaha not that long ago, 4 or 5 years ago, when they hosted that regional, and now here you are missing the tournament 3 straight years. You're kind of feeling like if they can't get it done with this staff, it's like this pitching staff, it's gonna be a tough pill to swallow for a lot of folks that were getting really excited about Virginia Tech's baseball program potentially being something in the modern era.
Yeah, by the way, I like to joke with Micah about being a Virginia Tech fan, but when it comes to the baseball program, we are both Virginia Tech fans, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, again, I've always said,
other,
Monty.
other sports, it's a little different, but
Well, I've always said too, Monty, and this might be a disgusting thing to say, but like, I honestly could care less if Virginia Tech won 11-1 in football every single year, as long as that one loss is to Virginia. Like it is more like Monty. I don't know if you agree or disagree. I had a lot more fun beating Virginia Tech in 2019 when the winner went to the AC championship game than I did beating them this year when the Hokies were 3-9. So I think it's better for the Commonwealth when both teams are successful, as long as Virginia's better.
I would have agreed with you before I lived in Roanoke.
I mean, fair.
Yeah, the fans in Roanoke made it very difficult for me football wise. But we're talking baseball, so let's get back to baseball.
That's where I'm from, so yeah. I kind of get it, Monty.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I actually was kind of leaning both. Obviously, UVA was always my favorite, but I had some love for Virginia Tech, and then I went to Roanoke and dealt with a lot of non-Virginia Tech alums who were Virginia Tech fans, and that was a little difficult to deal with.
For the Walmart fans, Monty's ready to roll today.
Yeah, well, I love Virginia Tech's baseball program. I love Kurt Elbin, the hitting coach. I think he's one of the best in the game. I mean, you talked about the lineup being sneaky good, and I think he's going to get the most out of the guys he's got. I don't really have, obviously there's questions about that lineup, but I don't have the same concerns that maybe you'd have if it was a different hitting instructor there, right? But yeah, very excited about this Virginia Tech team. Nick, talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been a kind of disappointing 3-4 years of Virginia Tech baseball. Like you said it, Monty. They've had their ups in the beginning of a lot of seasons, and it's like, oh, here comes the Hokies. They're going to get back to the regionals like they did in, what was it, 2021?
2022.
Or 2022. They
got to a super.
Yeah, that's right. And you thought, like, every season they start off pretty good. It's like, okay, here we go. And the lineups have been fantastic, especially last year's. And we're going to get to departures in a minute, but I really, really loved Virginia Tech's lineup last year, man. Like, those guys could hit. I forgot who got injured pretty bad last year and had to miss a lot of time. Michelle.
Yeah. That was extra heartbreaking because remember, he missed all of his sophomore year, basically.
Yeah, and I witnessed, like, I saw him get hurt in Winston-Salem running down to first base and pulling something. Yeah, I mean, look, if this lineup can't do it this year, this pitching staff can't do it this year, it's going to be a real heartbreaker because, like you guys said, I've known it too that Virginia Tech is adding into their baseball program, and I really want to see it happen. I think it's good for ACC baseball. I think it's good for college baseball just in general. Like a named college brand like Virginia Tech getting into baseball would be huge, I think, for the sport and for the ACC. But yeah, I've digged a lot of their lineups in the past, and I really hope that this lineup can turn it around this year too.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've had, like I said, tournament caliber teams, but pitching depth maybe down the stretch, and then things kind of spiraling out of control. And I think that's the difference between, really good teams and above average teams is the teams that can pull out of those spirals and minimize damage. Those are the teams that are going to succeed. But let's take a look at those departures. Pull it up on screen here. David McCann, an unexpected undrafted signee as a sophomore. I didn't even know he was draft eligible until he signed with the Yankees after the draft. Jared Davis, a late round pick. The guy I'm going to miss the most, obviously Ben Watson, prolific hitter. Sam Tackett finally had his breakout, but I'm going to miss Jackson Cherry, fan favorite. The fact we only got 1 year of Jackson saddens me. And obviously it's going to be weird to see Garrett Michelle in an Arizona State jersey. At least one of the colors is somewhat similar. And then Jake Slade is transferring to Micah's favorite school, the Murray State Racers. Who are you guys missing the most here? We'll start with you, Nick.
I'm going to miss Sam Tackett. Sam Tackett was my favorite guy on this team last year. I mean, he was in conversations pretty much halfway through the season of ACC Player of the Year. He was up there in batting average. He was up there in multiple or extra base hits, RBIs. he was so much fun to keep track of, so much fun to watch. Just like the consistent heartbeat, I think, of last year's squad.
Love that. Micah?
I mean, Garrett Michelle probably is the one that jumps off the page the most. Again, I've said it 1,000 times in the episodes. I always go for the guys that we thought would be coming back next year that end up not coming back. I think Jake Marciano is a tough loss, just because I think his numbers didn't necessarily show what he's capable of. That's obviously why Auburn went out and got him. So I think, expecting him to take a step forward in 2026. I mean, if he's a part of this staff, this pitching staff that we're really high on, I think we're just even more optimistic about Virginia Tech's chances of making the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2021. But I mean, those are probably the two I would circle the most.
By the way, shout out Grant.
Monty. I am bummed we're not getting any more cherry bombs, though.
I know. I mean, him and Ty Daly, who's now at Clemson, them being in the same Mercer outfield.
Yes, I remember.
I wish I remembered. I wish I had been able to witness those two. The vibes alone. I know, obviously, they were hitting a lot of bombs as well, but just the vibes alone, those two guys. But anyway, I also wanted to shout out Grant Manning, who just signed a pro contract very recently. I can't remember which team. Very exciting for him. He was obviously a workhorse out of the bullpen for them. Here's some key newcomers. I'm really excited about all of them. They've got a lot of impact transfers, and they got a couple of impact recruits. They got guys from JUCO. I'm over the moon about every one of these guys, and I think they all have some major upside. Do you guys want to talk about one or two of them now, or do you want to wait till we get into the lineup and the pitching?
We could just go right into the lineup and the pitching if you want.
Let's do that, because we're going to talk about them anyway. Let's talk about the rotation. The pitching staff, like I said, it's unprecedented the depth that they actually have here. Let's take a look, because they're getting Griffin Stieg back and Madden Clement back from injury. I know Griffin Stieg's going to be ready to go opening day. I don't necessarily know Madden Clement's status. We're recording this before their introductory press conference, which by the time this airs will have happened. So we'll actually know more about Madden Clement's status tomorrow in the recording time, but in the past. But here's some rotation options, and this doesn't even include all the guys, but Griffin Stieg comes back from injury. Obviously, he was injured in the UVA series at the end of the year a couple of years ago in 2024. He was drafted and was going to transfer to Alabama. So the fact that he's still on campus and set to, he was having a big first year in the rotation and was really exciting. And Renfro's the most underrated guy in the conference up there with Jack Riddell. Aiden Robertson might be the best JUCO arm out there. And then Ben Weber comes over from Xavier following the pitching coach, and you've got him in the rotation option. And then that doesn't even talk about Logan Eisenrich and Chase Swift, who each had more than, I think Swift had 7 starts and Eisenrich had 10. And then Ethan Grimm is a game-changing arm that could be a weekend arm in the freshman. So you've got 8 legitimate starting roles. Like, do you guys remember doing this 2 years ago and being like, I don't know who's going to be like in the rotation?
Yeah.
And now we've got 8.
Yeah, I know, Monty. I'm really excited to see what Ben Weber could be, the Xavier transfer. I know you probably have him as a potentially midweek guy. You haven't put your thing up there. If you want to use that as your segue to throw it up there now, but he could provide obviously the ability to start or high leverage, bullpen innings as well. Oh, he did not. Okay.
I have no idea what they're going to do with the midweek. It could be Ethan Grimm if they want to go with give a freshman experience.
True.
Who knows? They've got 8 guys that they got to figure out, and then that doesn't even include impact relievers that are going to get high leverage innings.
Yeah, I know. For me, again, that Ben Weber transfer is a good one. Brody Rowe looked really good in his few chances he got last year at Kansas State.
I think he had an injury. That's why it was such only 8.2 innings.
Yeah, so, obviously if he comes back and kind of pitches at the level he was pitching when he was healthy for Kansas State, that'll be huge. I've heard pretty good things about Peyton Smith. His numbers don't necessarily say a whole lot.
High upside.
Obviously, you're talking to certified Aggie over here. He's got potential to be something if he takes a step forward in development again. This is and again, part of the reason why I think the pitching staff is as good as it is the investment they put into their facilities there. They have some of the best access to resources from a development standpoint for their staff in the country, let alone the ACC. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons to believe that, and that's a good thing. I mean, in a world where, I hate to say it, but there always seems to be, every team has to deal with injuries when it comes to their pitching staff at some point throughout the year. Virginia Tech is one of the best built teams this season for something like that. Like there is plenty of guys to believe in that can step up and fill roles if someone goes down. So reasons to really believe that this Virginia Tech team has the wherewithal and the skill, right, to get to Omaha, but no, maybe Omaha.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've got Omaha upside for sure with this staff.
Mm-hmm.
Aiden Robertson. I mean, he's a guy. He might be the best JUCO pitcher out there. I think he was drafted in the 13th round and decided to come to Blacksburg. That was huge. I mean, I think they saw when he went in the 13th round, I think they probably assumed he was gone, right? But instead he's on campus. He went 13-1 last year with 130 strikeouts. He almost had 100 strikeouts more than walks. He had 31 walks in 89.2 innings. And that he was at Walters State, which is one of the best JUCOs in the country, right? So he had a 4.12 ERA as a JUCO, but that doesn't scare me. But yeah, I mean, this is nasty. And Madden Clement, I think, was going to have a huge year last year, and I'm so excited for this rotation, man. I'm excited for this whole staff. Nick, talk to me about some of these guys.
I mean, I'll pick an obvious one, and honestly, I'm very, very excited that he is going to be the Friday night guy, Brett Renfro. I mean, what a breakout for his freshman year. I think this kid can honestly be a top 5 pitcher in the ACC. His numbers were so good last year. I think he could be, again, a very, very good pitcher nationally too. I think people are going to talk about him and this whole entire Virginia Tech rotation.
Yeah, this is not just his third year in the weekend rotation. This is his third year as the ace of the staff, third year as the Friday night guy. Like, he was the Friday night guy from day one as a freshman, which is unusual. I think that year though we had two, because I think Folger Boaz was the Friday night guy to start the year, but he shouldn't have been because Jake Knapp would have been the guy. But yeah, Renfro was the guy day one. And Preston Kroll is a guy. I mean, he was a guy who could be in the closing role. He had a sub-4 ERA and has some electric stuff. Luke Crater's great. Again, it's just a very deep staff with a lot of options. Jacob Exum has a ton of experience. And a guy that's flying under the radar is another JUCO transfer in Danny Lazaro, who is a guy from the left side who has some elite stuff. So really excited about this. The other thing I'm hearing is Logan Eisenrich, now that he's kind of moved to the bullpen and been more of a relief guy, he's approaching triple digits with his fastball. And so that's, him and Chase Swift are two guys to watch that freshman to sophomore year jump, especially if their stuff plays up as bullpen guys as opposed to starters. Like I said, they had 18 combined starts last year and pitched fairly well in there, but they're not going to need to start this year.
Yeah, it's all different. It's all feels really, really good. I think all three of us kind of can agree that this is the first time where we feel pretty good about a Virginia Tech pitching staff.
It felt very strange when writing the Dyer report and putting their strength as the pitching staff. I was like, this is wild. All right, let's take a look at the lineup, which is not quite as maybe sexy as it has been in years past, but we'll take a look here. Trying to figure out some of these guys. There's a lot of different versatility here, so keep in mind that these guys are going to be able to move around. But they get Henry Cook and Clay Grady back. I expected those guys to move on to the next level. They didn't have the best junior seasons. I think they're going to have bounce back seasons, which will be huge. Obviously, Henry Cook was battling an injury all last year. He's an impact when he's on. He's one of the best catchers in the conference. And then you've got Pete Daniel, who apparently as a transfer is so good defensively that he moves Clay Grady over to second base. Clay Grady's been the shortstop all 3 years. And then Owen Petrich, another A10 guy. We've talked about A10 guys a lot. And then they get Trayson Hughes back from injury. Sam Gates is another A10 guy. But yeah, Micah wanted to talk about this lineup. So before I go through every single guy and steal his thunder, I'm going to let him talk about some of the guys he wants to talk about. Because as I'm going through this and taken all of his thunder. Let's let Micah get in there and get nitty gritty with this lineup.
Well, there's no better way to get started than talking about another fantastic Micah. Micah Jordan is someone I got to watch in Greenville in the Appy League, and he was playing as going in to be a true freshman at Virginia Tech that summer that I watched him. And I mean, you could tell his stuff is capable. Like, he was on a team with some of the best young guys in the sport. I mean, we're talking about Brody Johnston over at Vandy was also in that lineup for the Greenville Flyboys. Rintaro Sasaki was also in that lineup for the Greenville Flyboys. Like, Micah Jordan was one of the more consistent pieces. I really enjoyed he's a freak athlete. I remember when I first saw him, I was like, man, that kid could potentially play football if he wanted to. He's very fast. I think can be someone you can expect to take a step forward. Obviously, he doesn't have a ton of production last year as a true freshman, but I mean, he was by no means bad when he made his chances and made his appearances. But Pete Daniel is an absolute dude. I mean, he is an absolute stud coming over from Belmont, hitting over 360 or hitting at 360, I guess. But, like you said, the defensive numbers for him are insane. Again, being able to bump a guy like Clay Grady over to second base tells you everything you need to know about that. I mean, Henry Cook, again, like I don't want to steal everybody's thunder, but there's just so many guys on this roster, again, and they did a good job, I think, in the portal, really filling spots they really needed to by getting a Pete Daniel, getting a Sam Gates from George Washington. Like, they got some guys to where now some guys that made some appearances last year are now depth pieces, like a Hudson Lutterman. So I really like what Virginia Tech did, quietly putting together a frisky and quite literally maybe dangerous lineup over there in Blacksburg.
Yeah, and I mean, Clay Grady and Henry Cook battling the adversity last year, I think that played a big factor, because you also had Trayson Hughes, who missed a lot of the season. Jackson Cherry was dealing with issues. They had a lot of injuries they had to deal with, and that's why they kind of focused on getting some of this defensive versatility. But when I heard Pete Daniel was potentially moving Clay Grady over, I was like, man, you don't normally see that. You don't normally see a 3-year starter at shortstop get moved over. But a testament to Clay Grady, who's able to do that and still be there. But they got Ethan Ball and Ethan Gibson providing depth. Hudson Lutterman and Anderson French are two high-profile sophomores who could have a big jump. I'm super pumped. Nick, talk to me about who you're circling in this lineup.
I mean, Owen Petrich, I think, is my favorite guy that they got out of the transfer portal this year. 310 average. Right now, as it sits, leads this lineup in home runs with 15. Ton of RBIs. The Virginia Tech, to me, every single year kind of reminds me of like when Georgia Tech was kind of on the rise. You were never really worried about the lineup trying to hit. But you always were kind of worried about the pitching staff. Well, look where Georgia Tech is now. I'm not saying that Virginia Tech is on that path, but man, the way they're investing, the way that the lineup has stayed consistent throughout the last 3 to 4 years, the transfers that they got, specifically Petrich, who I'm really high on this year. I think it's huge. You never have to worry about Virginia Tech and hitting.
Absolutely. I think that these guys are going to hit. A guy I wanted to touch on that's kind of being overlooked. He was one of my underrated transfers and one of my breakout sophomores. I kind of cheated with him because normally with my breakout sophomores, they have to have played in 35 or less games, and Sam Grube played in 50 games for Mount St. Mary's last year. But the big thing that I circle there, as a freshman, he walked 15 more times than he struck out while hitting nearly 300. And he can play on the infield. He can play in the outfield. He's going to be a very versatile player for them, and I think he's an underrated guy that could be a top of the order bat because he also stole 27 bases. And you mentioned Petrick. That's another guy that walked more than he struck out, and those kind of numbers always kind of pop to me because that normally means you're a pretty good hitter. So very excited. Let's take a look at the potential batting order here. There's a look at Henry Cook on the left and Trayson Hughes there on the right. There it is. And you've got a pretty balanced lineup in there. I mean, Sam Grube, Pete Daniel, Trayson Hughes, Henry Cook, Owen Petrich, Sam Gates, Hudson Lutterman, Anderson French in the DH role, Clay Grady as your number 9 hole, turning it over. And then you've got some good bench depth. I mean, Micah talked about his fellow Micah. That's somebody who could be a 5-tool guy off the bench. Ethan Ball and Ethan Gibson. The Ethans are two guys that can provide a lot of ability on the infield, across the infield. So I really like Virginia Tech. I don't really have any concerns. I mean, there's questions about the lineup, and I said this before, but I'm not really concerned with offensive production from them.
Yeah. I mean, it's again. I think it's a very. Is it? Are you power ranking it top half of the ACC lineup right now? Probably
No.
not on paper, but if all things click, it can be. And this is a dark horse team. I liked your take, Monty, when you said I'm going to convince Micah. I don't know if it was on the UVA show or if it was early at the beginning of this show. I remember at one point you made a joke about how you're going to convince me that this is a regional host, and it is plausible with how good this pitching staff is, what this lineup is. I mean, I if you're listening, offensive pieces of Virginia Tech, please provide Brent Renfro some run support, because that did not happen last year. And I think they can, because if they can just provide a little bit of run support on those Friday nights, that is a drastic change in the overall appearance of what this Virginia Tech resume would look like at the end of the season.
His record was 3-7 last year.
He had the worst record of any top talent in college baseball. I mean, it was unbelievably and then the next night I felt like Virginia Tech would lose a game 12-10. It's like, what the heck is going on? But
yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see. We want to dive into the schedule?
Let's do it.
Love it.
All right, let's take a look here on the schedule. No hats here, but they do have a date with a familiar face in that second weekend. Brian O'Connor, they just can't escape him. They'll face Mississippi State, Tennessee, and Texas A&M. So they get to face an orange school and two maroon schools. So they get to, similar colors there. They are testing themselves is that in Arlington or Houston? That's
Arlington.
Arlington. Okay, I can never remember who's going to Shriners and who's going to Arlington. But yeah, because Arlington has three.
Hey, Monty, Shriners is also in Arlington.
Is it really?
This is the third weekend of the season, my friend. They do 3 straight weekends of college baseball in Arlington.
It is. Thank you. Shriners used to be in Houston at one point, though, right?
No.
I could have sworn it was at Minute Maid, but anyway.
The Astros Foundation puts on a tournament every year.
Yeah, whatever. I've got it wrong. Clearly, I'm misremembering things. But yeah, I mean, that's a tough non-conference. And then they open up at Georgia Tech and at Virginia. So we're going to find out very quickly how good this pitching staff is before they get to face Duke, Stanford, Boston College, Miami. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this schedule, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, man, out of conference, we're talking about 3 potential Omaha teams. That's actually kind of insane. I don't remember a Virginia Tech schedule like this since the 3 of us have been doing this, or even years prior to that. It's tough. And then after that, you've got 2, again, other Omaha caliber teams on the road. This is a very, very tough schedule for Virginia Tech. You got to go to Boston College in April. That's not easy. You know how we like to talk about the Northeastern schools in spring. Finishing off with Clemson at the end of the season is going to be a tough one. There's not really a big time break here. I would say, if you're going to look for Miami or Virginia Tech to potentially bounce back or get themselves on a pretty good winning streak, that end of March stretch from VCU to Radford, where they have Duke and Stanford in there. But it's a tough schedule.
And shout out that Rutgers series. That's not easy either. Rutgers is
Rutgers. That's good.
Done a good job in improving themselves. But yeah, Micah, I wanted to give you a little bit of time to kind of form your thoughts here, since you're kind of the guy that is our schedule guru here.
I'll fight you a little bit, Nick, on this schedule being so drastically difficult. This is one of the easier ACC schedules. I mean, think about it. They're playing bottom half of the ACC teams for half their conference slate. I mean, you're getting Cal. We all agree that we think every team in the ACC is good. But if you have to take who you're going to play, getting Cal, getting Boston College, getting Duke, especially early in the season when it comes to Duke, when they're still probably going to be trying to figure some things out, getting, Pitt, like that's not the most brutal, like that's half your ACC slate. So not as difficult as I think you're pitching it, Nick, from the conference standpoint. But out of conference, I mean, Monty, I'm glad you touched on the Rutgers series. I was sitting there like, guys, like let's not forget the Rutgers is pretty good. Plus, they're going to the toughest place to play in college baseball, and that would be Thomas Stadium in Johnson City, Tennessee. So that's obviously going to be a tough one for them in the midweek. But no, this is a schedule that it's going to provide them a lot of good opportunities to have a good resume. Again, if they can go down to Arlington, I think it just take one of those games, Monty, and win every weekend series going into Georgia Tech. They might be ranked when they have the Tecmo Bowl down there in Atlanta. So this is a program again that they're not playing too tough of a schedule to get started, but the nice thing is they're going to test themselves early on enough to where they're going to kind of get a benchmark kind of setup before they get to Georgia Tech there in ACC play. So I like the schedule a lot.
Yeah,
I guess I'm kind of more looking at it like if they struggle out the gate in those 3 games with A&M, Tennessee, Mississippi State, you might dig yourself a big hole when you play Virginia, Georgia Tech, and that's even a bigger hole. And I get it. There's a break there, but I mean, you still got to go to Miami. NC State's still coming to town. And I get it. We're all not particularly high on Cal, but you do got to travel all the way west. It's just, if they dig in themselves a hole with those 3 teams down in Texas and then those 2 ACC teams on the road to start off ACC play, it could get bad fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I've been attacked, and the other one's here too. Let's talk about our outlook for Virginia Tech. I can start. What I'm thinking is I've got them as a tournament lock with regional host upside.
Tournament lock. Interesting. I mean, I think they're a tournament team. I don't think I'd lock them.
I'm locking them. I'm locking them and Notre Dame, baby.
All right. But
face the camera.
But no, I think this is going to be a very good team. I don't hate the idea. Like they're going to be that either like scary 3 seed, scary 2 seed that I again could see going to like. The best way to describe them, Monty, in my opinion, is maybe like a Duke last year from a standpoint of how it plays out in the tournament. They don't host their regional. They get sent somewhere where they deem the regional stacked. Like last year, the Athens regional was pretty stacked with Oklahoma State, Duke, and obviously the host Georgia in it. And they're going to find a way to get out of that. And then they end up hosting a super regional because of it, right? Because some other weird stuff happens around the bracket. So I love it. Again, that Rutgers series is a really fun one. If I was living still in East Tennessee, I'd probably have to venture over there for one of those games. That's a very sneaky good series of what Rutgers has kind of added and what Rutgers even has been in recent years in the Big Ten. A very consistently good, not great program, but I like the schedule, and hopefully I'll get a chance. I'm not supposed to be free Arlington like that when they're in Arlington, but I'm going to try to make myself available for one of their 3 games to venture up there and see this Hokies team in person, because I really do think, especially if I'm not going to lie, Monty, the idea of watching Brent Renfro pitch against Texas A&M kind of warms this man's heart. It's going to make me feel very torn, as I will be actively cheering for the ACC, but also actively cheering against my beloved Aggies, while actively cheering for my rival school, while just being torn. So love it.
Yeah, I mean, cool.
Q.
Nick, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this has to be the year that they get over the hump and they get back to the regionals, man. I think that's their ceiling. I think they could be a sneaky 2 or 3 seed. I think that really does depend on like ACC tournament, how they finish the season. I think that could be the difference between a 2 and a 3 seed for this team. I don't like calling out, like, I don't want to put a coach on the hot seat, but if he does not make it to the regionals, I mean, with the investment that Virginia Tech is putting in baseball, and with, this fantastic pitching staff that they're trotting out this year, I mean, I don't know what will happen. But
I will be editing that out.
What's that?
I will be editing that out. We don't do that.
But I think this team gets back to the regionals. I really do.
Love that. All right, that's going to do it for Virginia Tech. We're all kind of high on Virginia Tech. Think they're a tournament team. We'll be back tomorrow with our last team deep dive, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Micah might be there. He might not. But until then, it just means less.